welcome to another episode of Going All In, Get the Edge You Need to Succeed. My name is Dr. Erin McKinley, and today I have another spotlight session. And today we have Dr. Jeannine Goetz from the University of Kansas Medical Center based in Kansas City, Kansas. Welcome, Jeannine.
Well, thank you for having me.
Wow, before you get into a presentation about your program, tell us a little bit about you and your journey to becoming the director of the program.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me today and to get to share a little bit about KU Medical Center. So I kind of got into working at KU Medical Center I did my undergraduate at the University of Central Missouri, which is in Warrensburg, Missouri, about an hour east of the Kansas City area. That's where I grew up. And then I actually did come to KU Medical Center to complete my dietetic internship. And I absolutely loved it and stayed on for my master's degree. And at that point, I never thought that research would be something that I was interested in. But during the master's program, really fell in love with research. And so actually, when I got done with the program, I stayed at KU Medical Center as a research associate and coordinated several large research trials. And during the first year of doing that, I realized that I really wanted to conduct my own research. And more importantly, I wanted to work with students. And so I ended up going back to get my PhD, and at that time our program didn't have a PhD, so I did the program in therapeutic science, which is an interdisciplinary health degree that works with disabilities. So at that time I was working with people that had serious mental illness, doing weight management with them, and so that program fit very nicely. So I joined our faculty then at the very beginning of 2009. And my roles have kind of shifted. When I started, I was mostly teaching and doing research, and I was the assistant director of the KU Weight Management Program. And then kind of my dream job came available in 2016. So since I had done the internship, it had always been a dream of mine to be able to be the program director. And our previous director had entered phased retirement. So I took over the program in 2016. So I'm on my 5th class right now and absolutely love working with our students and doing the internship.
All right, so let's get to a presentation about that internship.
All right. Well, thank you to all of you for tuning in to hear more about the University of Kansas Medical Center. So being from the South, probably some of you may not be as familiar or have been to Kansas City, but it is a great place to live, to go to school. There is lots of things to do. It is a big metropolitan area, but it has lots of suburbs, so it has kind of a good vibe to it. You can really travel anywhere in a relatively short amount of time, but lots of great entertainment, sports, restaurants. We have lots of food, so foodies really like the area. Museums, lots of things to do. We are located near the heart of the downtown area, and that's what this picture is showing, is kind of the skyline there of our downtown area. We have a power and light district down there that has lots of entertainment and dining. There's a big farmer's market down there, just lots of things to do. And the Med Center is located about 5 minutes from downtown and right there on the state line between Missouri and Kansas. And as our name implies, the University of Kansas Medical Center, we are on the Kansas side of the border. Oftentimes students will ask me what is unique about our program. And one thing I would say is that we are located within an academic medical school. And so that affords us some different opportunities, one of which is really to focus on interprofessional collaboration. Back in the day, dietitians really worked in their own silo and didn't really talk to too many other people. And we know now that in order to provide the most optimal care, we really need to work together in treating patients. And so our school has, we have 3 different schools within the Med Center. So we are located within the School of Health Professions that has 8 different departments, over 25 different academic programs. And so there are many different people that we're able to work with. We also have a School of Nursing and a School of Medicine. So our students throughout the program have a lot of learning related to interprofessional collaboration. So there is some programming that is done for all students within the Med Center. We have some assignments that are within our classes that are interprofessional, and then we have interprofessional teaching clinics that we have our students work in as they are in their clinical rotation to really get hands-on experience working with other professions. So that's one unique thing. And then our students have the opportunity to do their clinical rotations at the University of Kansas Health System, and that is a very large teaching hospital, very fast-paced. You get exposed to a lot of different things that maybe in the smaller community hospitals you wouldn't get. And KU is ranked within some of the best in the nation among academic medical centers. So a little bit about our program. We do have an emphasis area in medical nutrition therapy, but overall, I would say that we are just really a well-rounded program. So you still get really good quality time in management and community, and we have the opportunity to have a practice area of interest rotation where you have another 6 to 8 weeks that we can tailor towards your interests. So even if medical nutrition therapy isn't an area of emphasis for you, we can hopefully tailor more towards those interests. Our students come to us mid-August, so usually a week before classes start, and we get to know one another, learn more about what is expected in the program, do some basic training, and then they're here with us until usually June or July, depending upon how quickly they finish up rotations. So with us for fall, spring, and summer semesters. During that time, completing the required number of supervised practice hours and then 24 hours of graduate coursework. And so we really encourage our students that if they stay for 2 additional semesters, not only can they leave with their internship, completing the internship, but they can have a master's degree. So that is something that we definitely encourage, and the majority of our students do stay and do. Everything that we do is really trying to prepare our students for taking the registration exam. So when you come to us right off the bat, we take a pre-exam to begin to assess where your strengths, where your areas for growth are. All throughout the year, we're taking practice quizzes. So the goal is that we don't just start doing that when the program's over, but we've been doing that the whole time. And then there is a final examination that you have to pass with a certain score in order to get out of the program. So we have 4 primary rotations that our students complete. So one semester, fall or spring semester, our students complete their clinical nutrition rotation. And so they are assigned to one hospital. Typically speaking, the students will be one-on-one with a preceptor, and they will be rotating usually every week to 2 weeks to a different specialty area, a different preceptor. That's the case in most of the rotations. Then the opposite semester, we have students complete half of the semester as community nutrition and the other half as food and nutrition management. And then I'll speak in a minute more about the final culminating experience is the practice area of interest. One thing that our students really talk about that they like about our program is that we allow students to rank their preferences for rotations. So at any given time, we have a long list, typically throughout the year, about 45 different rotation sites. And so this really helps to kind of individualize the program for our students. But they rank their top 3 choices, and then I match and try and work it out. And get them into the sites that they are interested in. if any time that we have a student that there is, they have an interest in an area that I don't have a rotation, I'm also happy to set up new rotations to accommodate that interest as well. So here is just some examples of some of the rotations that we have. We have many more than this, but this just gives you an idea. So on the left-hand side, those are the rotation sites that we have for clinical rotations. And then on the right side is more the community nutrition and the management experiences. On those, I do have many other opportunities as well. And then the practice area of interest. This is, you know, if we have a student that already knows they have a passion in an area, they just want to go and get more experience, they really want to develop that, you know, really make sure that they have entry-level skills, do more staff relief, they can do that. Maybe they didn't get to a certain area that they wanted some exposure to, they can go do that, or maybe they're just not quite sure yet what it is exactly that they want to do when they get done with the program, and so maybe they need to go see a couple different areas to be able to help to decipher that. So there are some examples on the screen of where students have gone. One of the nice things is this doesn't have to be done in the Kansas City area. So we have sometimes students will go back to you know, their hometown or someplace else to do this last rotation. And so all of our classes in the summer when this occurs are online to afford that opportunity. We do have one international experience, so we can have a student that can go to Vellore, India, to the Christian Medical College there, very large hospital, and really get some great cultural experience. So this is a 3 to 4 week rotation that is done, and several students from the Med Center go at the same time for that rotation. So what does a typical week look like for our students? So in fall and spring semesters, Mondays, students come to class all day, and they are on campus. And then Tuesday through Friday, they're out doing their supervised practice experience. So our goal there is about 32 hours per week. And then the summer semester, then we have a much more flexible schedule to accommodate in case we have students that leave for that practice area of interest. So students are just taking practicum with me, that is an online course, and students are able to kind of tailor that. If they want to get done more quickly, they can do 40 hours per week and speed that up. If they want to go a little bit slower, they can do that as well. And so during the summer, sometimes our students will go ahead and take additional master's courses so that they can lighten their load if they're going to stay with us for those 2 additional semesters. This is a look at our curriculum during the dietetic internship. So again, you're taking 24 hours of graduate coursework. So fall and spring semesters, you have both semesters an MNT course. So this is, the instructor does more of a flipped classroom approach. So really trying to use the time in person to during the actual class section to be able to apply the information that has been learned. And so also doing some simulation. We have some live patient actors that we utilize during that to be able to really develop those skills. We have management both semesters. So the fall semester is more didactic and then applying that information in the spring. So our students are divided up into teams, and then they develop a cafe from ground up. So applying those skills that they've learned. We have a seminar series, and this is really designed to help our students to develop good public speaking skills and to help them to really begin to understand and interpret research. And so we're learning to put together presentations in that class. They also take online and international nutrition and a U.S. public health nutrition course, and then also practicum with me. And what practicum is it kind of supplements the supervised practice experience. So anything that I can't accomplish within a rotation or within one of our courses is done in this course with me. We do discussion forums because we have people all over doing different things. It's helpful to be able to hear what other people are doing since not everyone gets to do everything. So we have discussion forums about that. This is where students are taking practice exams to prepare for the RD exam. We have different speakers that come in. We have different workshops that our students do to further develop their knowledge and skills. And then also sometimes going out into the community and doing food demonstrations and different presentations and things of that nature. And then during the summer, as I mentioned, just practicum, which is an online course to allow for if people want to travel for that practice area of interest. We do have also an emphasis in dietetics and integrative medicine, so really looking at the whole person and getting the root cause of what is going on. These are very lengthy assessments, and it's just kind of using a different lens to look at how that we work with patients. We do have an integrative medicine certificate that our students, there's many of our students will complete that during the master's program. It's just four courses to get that certificate. But we expose our students to this during the internship, and we have an opportunity that they can apply for a DEM award or fellowship. So that comes with a stipend, and then I help to design the practice area of interest so that students are working with integrative or functional dietitians that are working in the Kansas City community, or they can go, I had somebody go to Las Vegas to a clinic this past year. So you could technically go to other locations as well. We do use simulations. The bottom picture there is our new health education building. This is where all of the classes take place on Mondays. It is a state-of-the-art building. The top 3 floors are all simulation. My simulation pictures there actually are a little bit outdated. They truly have hospital rooms that are set up there, and we have capability to be able to see into the room and what the students are doing. That's also where we have live patient actors that come into what is designed like a clinic room. So those are things that we do. We have various trainings throughout the year. So an example is body composition training. So we train our students on how to use a DEXA and a P-pod and a BOD pod, skin folds and circumference training. So getting exposure to that. We always have a public policy workshop. Unfortunately, last year, because of COVID, we had to move that to virtual, but we hope to get back fairly soon to Topeka so that we can actually visit with some of our legislative representatives. Media Training Day is another example of something that we do. So they bring in media spokespeople and really train, on how that you go about if you were to do a media interview or to do a cooking demonstration, maybe on the morning news show, or how to best do a Facebook or an Instagram live session. And so that's always a day that's very valuable for our interns. We go on a dairy farm tour and really see all the steps that it takes to get from farm to table, and talking about sustainability and other issues as well. We really encourage our students to take advantage and go to different professional meetings and conferences. FNCE is not required, but when it's close to Kansas City, oftentimes we'll have a lot of our students go to that. And so you can see they are having a good time there. And then Internship Life. This is very important to me, that our students really form very close bonds. They are friends and stay friends long after the internship. So they do things together, and it's just really fun to see them becoming, kind of a family. So when our students finish up the program, and again, that depends on how quickly that they move through. We have some people that want to really go fast through, and other people that aren't as concerned with the timeline. Usually finishing up in June or July at the latest. Then they earn a graduate certificate, but more importantly, they earn a verification statement that allows them to sit for the RD exam. And so because we've been preparing all along for the registration exam, we really encourage students to take that really close after completing the program. So usually students will maybe study for about 3 weeks, really concentrated studying, and then go and sit for the exam. So that's usually in July or early September, between that time frame that occurs. We are very proud of our students for their success on the RD exam. So our 5-year first-time pass rate is 96.2%, and a long time history of 100% pass within 1 year of first attempt. So, we think that they do an awesome job with that. And then, importantly, if you come to our program, we're going to make sure that you actually get done with the program and graduate. So we have a high retention rate as well. So you are likely learning about the application process. And so DICAS is getting ready to open December 1st. And so you could begin, uploading your materials. Once I see that you have submitted your application, then I will send you an email asking you to submit an online application to our graduate school. And so there is a $75 fee associated with that. That deadline to have that done by is a little bit later. So that's March 15th. And then going into that D&D digital and ranking your choices. So all 3 of those. So just so that you're aware, with our program, it's a kind of a 3-step process to be able to get that submitted. So what we look for in our applicants, we have a committee that reviews all of the applications very thoroughly. Currently, we do not have interviews. This is something that we're still talking about if we're going to change for this year, but currently that is not something that we've done. So we solely base it off of the DICAS application. And so just to give you an idea of what we're looking for, so it's a 100-point rating scale. So 30 points or 30% of that comes from academic performance. So half of that score is your undergraduate cumulative GPA, and then the other half is your DPD professional GPA averaged with your science GPA. And so we kind of have a sliding scale based on where you fall, and you get points accordingly. Because we are a graduate school, there is a minimum cumulative GPA requirement of 3.0. We also, because we are a graduate school, require the GRE. We don't have a minimum requirement, but we use percentile ranks. So on the GRE, there's 3 components to that. Each of those get 10 points or 10% of the score. So we use the percentile rank. So for instance, on verbal, if you got the 65th percentile, that would be 6.5 points out of 10. And we do that for each of the components. And you can retake the GRE and use that so that you can improve your score, and then I will cherry pick the best scores from any of them. So you can't hurt your score by retaking it. And that is one area that students sometimes, if maybe their GPA is a little bit lower, if they could focus on the GRA, that's a great way to make up some of those points. We also look at work and volunteer experience, and so specifically we're looking at that experience that is related to dietetics or nutrition or healthcare in general. So we're really looking to see, maybe you've gotten some working with patients, some experience with that. So that is 15%. We also look at leadership awards and honors, and then your personal statement. And because we don't do those interviews, the personal statement is really important and kind of gives us a glimpse into your personality and your passion. That's really important. And then also your recommendation letters. So we participate in the spring only DICAS match, and we take 16 students, and all of our students come from outside of KU because we don't have a DPD program. And then if we look at past applications, so our average GPA for those students that actually come to our program is about a 3.66. That's over the past 5 years. And then number of applications. So generally speaking, we are somewhere around 50 to 55. We did have a low number last year and really hoping we can get that back up this year. But 50 to 55 is pretty common. And if you match with our internship, that means that you automatically are admitted to the graduate school. So even if you don't necessarily want to complete your master's degree, that's fine. But we still encourage students to enroll as a degree-seeking student so that they can be eligible for financial aid. It allows more hours to be credit towards the master's degree if you should change your mind later. And so there's no separate application that has to take place in order to get into the master's program. It also allows during the second year that our students are eligible for a graduate teaching or graduate research assistantship. And that really helps with tuition as well. Then if unfortunately you don't match during the match process, I encourage you to really look at maybe some other opportunities or alternatives. So one opportunity is that we can complete our program in reverse. Excuse me. And so I work with students that and take a look to see if there is an opportunity that we can really improve their scores and make them competitive. And so we would just have them apply to the master's degree and then complete the program in reverse. So year 2 courses become year 1. I work with them to come up with ideas for improving that application. We're actually able to replace the undergraduate cumulative GPA with the graduate cumulative GPA, so that oftentimes is very helpful. And then the students participate in the match the next year and then hopefully match, and then they do the internship the second year. And so they finish up then in June or July as opposed to May. So very close to the same timeline. So I greatly appreciate that you have taken the time to listen and learn more about our program, and I am very excited and hope that you will consider becoming the class of 2021-2022 at KU Medical Center. If you are interested and would like to get a little bit more in-depth information, we are going to be having some virtual open houses this fall and winter. And so here are the dates that are available for that. We will go some of the same information, but then dive a little bit deeper. And then also, I will have a panel of students to be able to answer any questions that you may have and do more of a virtual tour during that time. So if you're interested, you can just email me and I will send an RSVP link, and that should also be up on our website fairly soon. So I thank you and I welcome any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you so much for presenting that. All right, so I have questions that I ask every director that comes on the podcast. Okay. And these questions were put together with the help of some of my seniors this year, because these are things that they really want to know from directors of programs. So the first question is there a particular thing that you just love to see when you're reading a personal statement?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, because we don't do interviews, that personal statement is really important to us. What I want to see there is students kind of, as much as can, a personality come out on paper, but also their passion and why they're interested in dietetics. And then the other thing that I really like to see and really sets applications apart is when you specifically tailor it towards our program. And so tell me, why are you interested in coming to KU Medical Center? Why do you think that you would be a good match for our program? And so when I see that, that makes me stop and take notice.
All right. So the second question is a true or false question.
Okay.
So true or false, an applicant's resume should always be one page and one page only. Either way, explain why. Okay.
I'm going to have to say false. Yeah, quite honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I'm not gonna, it wouldn't sway me one way or another if it was one page or more than one page. What one page, I feel like really limits. So I feel like students have done so much during their undergraduate time. I feel like it's selling them short almost to say it has to be one page. So if you've done it and it's relevant and a reason why you would be successful in our program, I want to see it. I think it's kind of your time to brag. But I would encourage to kind of make it targeted. So, things that are specifically relevant to the internship experience. So I probably don't want to see 4 or 5 pages, but if you can make it targeted towards that. But the other thing I would say and encourage you to do is make sure that anything that's on your resume is actually in the DICAS application as well. So we have, a panel of people that are reviewing this, and we do review everything, but we really focus on that DICAS application. And so I kind of use the resume to give me a global look at a student and kind of get a feel for them. And I use it to kind of cross-reference what I'm seeing in the DICAS application. So if I have a question or need a little bit more information, I might see if it's on that resume. And I try my best to, as I'm assigning points, I double check to make sure that there's nothing that's on the resume that wasn't in the DICAS application, but it's just really helpful when it's in there too.
Okay.
So I would say I'm good with whatever length that really showcases a student's performance and their experience.
All right. I agree. And that's kind of what I have been doing with my students is don't limit yourself if you've been putting in the work.
Yes.
All right. So my third question is, what is one thing that an applicant may do that you look at as a total deal breaker or like a red flag that you wouldn't think that they were an appropriate match for the program?
Okay. I don't know that I've ever had something that was just an absolute deal breaker. I think that there's so many things that go into looking at if I think that an applicant can be successful in our program, but maybe there are some things that might lessen my enthusiasm maybe for the application. So an example of that, last year we had a couple individuals that I'm going to guess maybe decided at the last minute to apply for internships, and their DICAS application wasn't terribly complete. But what it came down to was the personal statement. As I mentioned, we really look at that personal statement. And a couple of these individuals had very, very brief, like a third of a page, personal statements that clearly not a lot of thought went into it. And so we were kind of on the fence as to whether this was an individual that we wanted to rank, and ultimately because we didn't feel like not much time in it, it just that they hadn't put a lot of time into and consideration into that personal statement, that ended up being kind of a deal breaker for us, and we didn't rank those individuals. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't think there's just one single thing that would be a deal breaker for me.
Okay, so what is one area of the program that you're actively working to make even better for the interns?
Yeah, so I don't know if I would say there's just one area. I'm constantly working just in general to improve our program. So feedback is very important to me, and actually doing something with that feedback. So in each of our rotations, we give the students the opportunity to provide feedback on that rotation as well as the preceptor. So I'm constantly looking. That's one thing that I want to make sure. If there's ever a time that our students are in a rotation that maybe isn't just the ideal experience, getting and working with those preceptors to make sure that we are able to provide the level of experience that our students are needing and wanting. And so that's something that I'm constantly doing. And if it's not something that I'm able to fix, then that rotation is no longer an option in our program. And so Also, I do exit exams with our students, and so that feedback, really what things did you like, what didn't you like, what things weren't as meaningful and just kind of seem like, taking up your time, so that I can make sure that everything is really beneficial. And then I also rely on our graduate teaching assistants that they have just completed the program, and so really looking to them as to what things that they feel we can do to improve our program. So it's just kind of a constant process. Oh, Erin, I think you're muted.
My bad. So my last question is a two-parter. So the first part is, what would be the 3 best adjectives or descriptors to describe your program?
Yeah, so I would say that we're definitely a well-rounded program. So as I mentioned, even though we have an emphasis area in MNT, really with that practice area of interest rotation, we are really able to tailor it towards our students' interest. And so for instance, if we have somebody that's more of a community focus, maybe that summer area of interest is in that area. A specific example of that is I commonly will have students that are really interested in sports nutrition, and that's not necessarily our emphasis area, but I can, on the community experience, they can go to KU Athletics and get a solid rotation there. And then during the practice area of interest, we'll sometimes have students that'll go back to their undergraduate athletic program or to another program, and so they're able to have almost as much time as we do in M&T in that area. So I would definitely say we're well-rounded, individualized or tailored. So again, our students talk about that they really like that they have a say in where they're going. Everyone is still getting the same projects and they're fulfilling the same competencies, but they're doing it in an area that's really of interest to them. So getting a say in their rotations, and again, coming back to that practice area of interest, really individualizing that program for them. And then nurturing. I feel like we have a very, very caring faculty that really, and our preceptors, just everyone that's involved in the program, are just really wanting to make sure that our students succeed. I have 3 small children, but I view my 16 interns as an extension of my family, and I care so much about their experience and that they get a good experience, and anything that I can do to help them succeed. So, yeah, I think that's what I'd say.
All right. So the second half of this question is very similar. It would be 3 adjectives or descriptors to describe your ideal applicant.
Okay, well-rounded. I'm going to stick with that one also again. So I'm really looking for, even though our GPA of the 3.66, for that's a little bit higher, but that doesn't mean that I would actually rather see someone that has a little bit lower, but has gotten out there and gotten a variety of different experiences, maybe has had some leadership positions, that has been doing a lot of things, rather than maybe that person that just really studied the whole time, had a really awesome GPA, but hadn't gone out and done as much. So I would say well-rounded. I would say passionate. So I'm really looking for that person that just absolutely loves dietetics and really wants to get in there and thrive and really get a great experience. And then I would say hardworking. So our program is very intensive, and so it's essentially like having kind of a full-time job and full-time school. It is doable, and our students do a great job at it, but they really do have to kind of be able to multitask and handle a lot of things, and go in there and really work hard to be able to successfully complete the program.
All right, awesome. And we do have another guest with us this evening, Bridget. I assume Bridget completed the program. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and what you really liked about it? Maybe something you didn't like, if anything? Or...
Sure.
Tell us about your experience.
So I completed the internship here at KU Med. I just finished in June and then took the RD exam in early August. And I now have the privilege of being back working with Dr. Goetz. And I really wanted to have that experience because the internship was so meaningful to me. I think from start to finish, it's pretty intensive. That was one of my big takeaways, but it's intensive in such a positive way that every single thing that I was doing was very much aimed for my own benefit. And I think that was something that I really appreciated, especially now looking back, seeing how each little piece, whether I realized at the time or not, was really meant to help me grow and become a better dietitian on the other side of things, not necessarily just finishing a program and passing an exam, but really being able to become a strong dietitian and participate in the field of dietetics. So I think that was a big thing. And also just like Dr. Goetz said, having that kind of nurturing and familial feeling throughout the program between the other interns, the instructors, even the preceptors, everything was very supportive and very unified. So I think I appreciated that also very much.
So Bridget, what advice would you give to future applicants? What are some best tips?
I think best tips are going to be to really think about what have you done that can highlight your strengths. I think there are so many things that we do during undergrad that can relate to the field of dietetics and just health and wellness in general, and really considering how all of that plays into who you are as well as what your goals are, and kind of put those two pieces together and make that show in your personal statement. Like Dr. Goetz said, it's really your time to shine there. So don't be afraid to talk about all that you've done. Those are good things, and the panel that reviews the applications wants to hear those good things.
And Jeannine, speaking of that panel, who looks at the applications besides you?
Yeah, so Bridget will be looking. So as a former dietetic intern, we have 3 other faculty, and then this year I'm hoping to get some preceptors on there as well.
Okay. So what kind of changes did you have to make this year because of COVID?
Yeah, so thankfully we haven't, to the actual rotations, haven't had to really have a lot of changes this year. I do have a couple of students that are doing their rotation remotely and working each day actively with their preceptor, but that seems to be going well, and our goal is to get them back in there. But everybody else is in their rotations. I would say in our interprofessional teaching clinics, we've had a few changes with that, and so we've been trying to work out the logistics there. So one of the clinics, we're having to do more telehealth this time instead of having the students actually there, but they're still getting that experience and that exposure. One of the other clinics that they're in, we have to reduce the number of people that can be there, so they aren't getting as many times there, but they're again still getting that experience. Some of the workshops and trainings that we have done, we have had to move those to a virtual experience, but still trying to make those as interactive as possible. And then the other thing is typically our classes are all in person, and we kind of have a mixture of in-person and virtual this year. So if we don't necessarily have to be on campus, we're trying to stay off of campus right now. But what's happening there is they're still having weekly classes, and it's synchronous learning. So maybe the instructor is then pre-recording a lecture and then using that actual synchronous time to apply what was learned during that lecture. So those are the main things. Bridget, can you think of any other big things that has changed this year?
I think those are the main things, really just trying to emphasize how we can use technology and still make good things happen, and we're not missing out on things just because we're not face-to-face all the time.
And I would say I think the students are getting to learn more about telehealth, and I think that's something that's going to keep with us even after this. So that has been one positive that's come out of this.
All right. So you did mention your awesome exam pass rate. So what about job placement rate for your?
Yeah. So We follow up 1 year out. I'm actually getting ready to do the survey from our class, the previous class. But everybody that is seeking jobs is getting jobs. Now, it'll be interesting when I do this last class that is seeking jobs during COVID to see if that is still true. But they, by and large, people get really great jobs in areas that they are really wanting to work in really quickly after the program. So the majority of our students stay and complete an additional year for the master's degree, and then right after that are applying for jobs.
So for students to complete the rest of the master's, can they do it in Kansas City? Can they do it online? What are their options?
So our on-campus option, you would be at the Med Center campus completing that. However, we do have another option for our students that maybe want to move back home or want to go get a full-time job after the internship. So we are part of the Great Plains Consortium, which is a consortium of 8 different universities that provide a master's degree. So we still are the home institution for our students. Their degree comes from us just as it would for an on-campus student, but they are able to then finish up completely online. And so we have those 2 different options for finishing up the master's.
All right. Well, that is all the questions that I have, and we don't have any student questions on this session. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking some time out to chat with me today and talk about your program. And we will certainly encourage LSU students and other students in other DPD programs across the country to apply to your program. And for those at home who may want some more information about the University of Kansas Medical Center, DI, I have placed the website for the program in the description below this video. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my page so you never miss a spotlight session with another dietetic internship. And we'll see you next time.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.